Hey everyone, thanks for watching my race and recap of the Run White and Blue 7.4 miler. Happy 4th of July to everyone. Please don't forget to LSD, which means like, subscribe, or share, and ding the bell for notifications. Enjoy. Thank you. Okay, so here's all the gear for the 7.4 miler. Reckless running singlet, no surprises there. Gooder Wrap G style sunglasses with the red, white, and blue frames. There's Con, as always. There's my bib. This is one of the few times you'll not catch me in North Face BTN racing shorts. These are just your regular BOA Stars and Stripes shorts. So I can look all patriotic today, pretty much. Also, one of the few times that I'm not going to be in Injinji socks. It's like maybe the one time a year I don't run in Injinji socks, and that's just so, again, I can be all matchy-matchy with the Stars and Stripes. I don't dress up a lot for races, but, you know, why not for today? GoPro 9, Hero 9, I need to clean that lens a little bit. I'm going to be taking some race footage with that. Since this is going to be part of a much longer run, basically the race is going to be in the middle of it. It's going to be at marathon pace. Then I am bringing a couple of gels for today so that I'm not on an empty tank. And it was close, but after the poll I sent as to which shoe I should wear today, the New Balance SC Elite V3 just barely beat out the ASICS Metaspeed Edge Plus. And we'll call this red. In the direct light it doesn't clash as much, but it kind of matches with the whole red, white, and blue colorway as well. So that's all of my gear. I'm gonna go take this little bagel on a walk and then see if I can get down to Huntersville and start my long run, because basically what I'm going to do today is a 16 or 17 mile run with the 7.4 mile race in the middle of it. So yeah. Alright, so I'm at the Huntersville Business Park. I'm doing my long warm-up, which is basically running the 7.4 mile course easy before I run it as a race. Like I said, this race, I put in quotes, is part of a longer run, and I'm going to try and do it at more of a marathon effort. We'll see what that comes out to today. It's a hilly route, and it's the 4th of July, so it's awfully warm. This race is always hard. I don't know why I keep doing it each year, but I keep coming back. And maybe it's an excuse to get all dudded out in patriotic gear. So 7.4 miles is a very odd distance. This course is actually a little short. It's more like 7.2 or so. And I think the race director, Bear, just got rid of an out and back one of the years that was pesky and said it was close enough. And I'm fine with that, because who's really trekking their 7.4 mile PR anyway? So I'm good with getting rid of an out and back. Anyway, the closest distance you could relate it to would be 12K, which is another uncommon distance. The reason for 7.4 mile, there's also a 7.4 kilometer, is of course July, the 7th month, and 4th, the 4th day. And I'm only explaining that mainly to my overseas viewers because I'm well aware that the United States is in the minority as far as notating their dates month and then year. So I guess everyone else would have a 4.7 kilometer or mile. Incidentally, 7.4 kilometers is not too far from 4.7 miles. It's a little bit off, but I digress. Anyway, that's the reasoning behind this odd distance. So there's about a kilometer here in this neighborhood, this loop in this neighborhood, which is in the shade, and it's pretty flat. And it's after we've been racing for almost a mile. This will be where I think I really find my marathon effort, because the start is a short downhill, then a little bit of a climb to get back up to here. So I'm going to find my effort here and then just try and maintain that effort on the rolling back end of the course, which is tough and hot. We'll see how it goes. So I've done this race 3 times before. One time I won it, and I was in second place for about 4 miles and took the lead pretty much when we got on the big loop that we do a couple times on the back end, and pulled ahead. Won it by about a minute that year. Then I got second place twice. Both of those times it was a fight to the very end. A couple years ago I was in the lead for over 7 miles, then a couple hundred meters from the finish got outkicked by a 17-year-old who was on my shoulder the whole time. Then last year, first place was way ahead, but the fight was for second and third. In third place, Chuck Engel, a very seasoned marathoner, fast guy, was on my shoulder again for the whole race, and I was able to hold him off and beat him by a few seconds at the end to take second. I will not be on the podium this year, seeing as it's a workout, and the field's a little bit deeper this year. I know there are at least a few people who have beat me before who are going to be here, and I'm not going to try and challenge them, especially since this is part of a long run and I'm doing double-digit runs every day this week. Lots of rollers up and down like this pretty much the whole way on the back 5 miles of the race. Okay, so this is the big, almost hourglass shaped lap that we do 1.5 times. It's a 1.7 mile loop. Of course, the first lap you do a little top addition on the north end of it, which makes it a little bit more. But then we pass by the finish line, and then you got one more hourglass shaped loop that's 1.7 miles. So it's really rolly. I've run a half marathon time trial out here, just this over and over again, and these hills tend to grow on you. Okay, so it's 96 days from Chicago, and to try and do this amount of time at marathon pace, that I'm about to do for this race, is really something I would expect to be able to do in about 6 to 8 weeks time. So especially on this hilly terrain in this weather, I don't know that mid 620s is the smartest play. That might be more like an all-out race effort in these conditions, especially untapered. 635 I think would be reasonable. So again, we will see what happens, but I'm not going to do the whole course for a warm-up. I'm probably going to end up doing about 6 miles for a warm-up. Okay, about 15 minutes to the start.
19 today, 44 and up record.
Anthony Familietti, the founder of Reckless Running Singlets, which you've seen in all my videos, and also 2-time Olympian.
I'm pacing someone in the fun run.
Awesome.
You can believe it. But my number, you can't tell the difference, so hopefully nobody's worried.
He's gonna try and win the fun run today. Good luck, fam.
I'm gonna do it. I think I can do it.
All right, guys, we are gonna go 1 minute to start. If you would, make sure you get your watch ready. Make sure yourselves are ready. All right, happy birthday, Ron Roll. Once again, happy birthday, Ron Roll. We are under 30 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. line, go!
Good job, guys.
Good job.
Smart. Nice work.
All right, Chad. All right, James.
Now.
Come on, Chess! You got the GoPro and the black.
After this, 1 lap left, 1.7 more miles. Kilometers left to go. That's time again. Hi.
Nice. For you too.
Guys.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, now that I'm back in my air-conditioned car and I've done my cool down and had awards and everything and a couple of bottles of water and some ice cream, yeah, so I was 6th overall, which is pretty good considering I was just kind of doing a marathon pace and it was part of a long run. Yeah, I managed to do exactly that 6:35 pace that I figured would be reasonable on a day like today, and 96 days out of Chicago with a hilly course and a hot day, I think that's all right to do for, you know, 47 minutes or so, because normally I'd be doing 6:25 for about that amount of time during like a peak week, and I am nowhere near a peak week. Second in my age group, which shows how deep the field was, because, you know, aside from the first 2 overall, that means there was another person in the early 40s who was faster than me. Justin was faster than me, and I knew I wasn't going to catch him after the first mile or so. But hey, age group awards, got this cool hat, so, you know, it doesn't look too bad. I'll get some use out of that, I guess. All right, I'm going to get home, and then we'll do a shoe talk and everything. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Happy Independence Day to all my American viewers, and just happy day in general to all of my overseas viewers. So, yeah, I raced the Run White and Blue 7.4 miler today. Do a little race recap. Like I said, this was part of a longer run. I ended up doing a total of 15 miles today. A little bit less than I wanted to do, but it was appropriate considering the heat and the conditions. And did 10K to start, just about 6 1/4, and finished that just a few minutes before the race began. And then the 7.4 miler, which is actually more like 7.22. Like I said, they shortened the course a few years back to get rid of an out and back, and it's close enough that we can call it a 7.4 miler because that's such an uncommon distance. It's a unique distance that no one really cares. And then I did a couple of miles of cool down, a little under 2 miles of cool down, and that was basically joining the fun run. Fam, one of his athletes, was doing the fun run, so we were just running along with him. Anyway, race recap. I settled in right from the beginning at just trying to maintain a sustainable effort and focusing on not getting caught up in the competitive start. Like I said, this was a deeper field, and I didn't want to end up following anyone. And I know there were some people following me, actually. In fact, there was another runner that I've seen around in my age group who was on my shoulder for most of the race, and he was running in my pocket. I could hear his footsteps for about 6.5 miles. There's some of those, you know, hills. I was looking down at my watch saying, you know, how can this be possible? I'm running 6:50s, even 7-minute miles, and it was true. It was rough out there with the heat and the humidity and the hills. Every year I ask myself, why do I keep doing this race? But I keep coming back each year. It is a well-run event. Bear Robinson, the RD, is a stand-up guy. And it's fun, even though it's kind of awful. Anyway, I was able to make up for some of that on the downhill sections. I saw kind of at the halfway, or certainly 2/3 of the way through, that 6:35 pace was going to be reasonable if I could just keep that. And I didn't want to have to fight for it. I tried to think about making it sustainable. I wasn't going to fight to try and get under 6:30, and if it ended up being 6:37, I wasn't going to fight to try and, you know, make it 6:35 either. It ended up being 6:35. I did end up pulling away from my tail with around a mile left, maybe a little less than a mile left, and I never look behind me. I never look over my shoulder because that's inviting someone to make a move. But I stopped hearing his footsteps, and I found that, you know, that could mean if I'm no longer hearing him, he could be anywhere from 25 to 30 meters back. And so I was not going to push hard at the end unless I started hearing footsteps again. I wanted to save a kick if I needed it, but I didn't want to kick because this was mainly a workout. It was a pace run. So I just kind of maintained that pace through, ended up finishing about 9 seconds ahead of the next finisher. So that's about 35 or 40 meters, I guess. 6 overall, second in my age group, which is how I got this hat. And I'm satisfied with that. I wasn't going to be on the podium. The podium is only 2 deep, by the way, first and second place, the overall podium. I knew I wasn't going to be on the podium this year, so I was just going to kind of try and go out and try and ignore other people, even though I did get caught up in a little bit with who was chasing me. All right, so that's the race. The footage tells everything else as far as the race. Now it's time for shoe talk. The New Balance SC Elite V3 is what I ran in today. It helps that it had kind of the red, white, and blue New York City Marathon colorway, with the New York City Marathon logo there as well. It just barely beat out the Metaspeed Edge in the poll. This is a good shoe. It is a good shoe, and I would say it's a super shoe, even though the foam is not a super foam, and I'll get into that. It's a good shoe. It's got a large wheelhouse. You could run a marathon in it. You could run a shorter distance race like a 10K in it and be fine. You could even choose it for a 5K and it would be all right. The quibble I have is that I'm not sure there's any distance where I'd race this shoe where there might be another shoe that's better to reach for. It does everything well, but maybe not the best at any one thing. Now, this foam they have, the fuel cell foam, which is not a PIBA-based foam. It is actually a supercritical TPU and EVA blend. Very bouncy, very compressive. It's hard to do with just it's easier to do when I'm stepping in it. But it really comes alive and only competes with the other super shoes when it's combined with this Energy Arc plate. And this Energy Arc plate, what they've done between version 2 and version 3, I think has really kind of made that formula work. Again, it's not a PIBA-based foam or TPEE like Adidas Lightstrike Pro, so it doesn't have quite the energy return. But it is bouncy, it is soft, and it's fun to run in. I have all 3 versions of this shoe. They changed the name to SC Elite for this version, where it was RC Elite for the first version, and for the second version, RC Elite V2. Of all of these, I think version 1, this is also a New York Marathon colorway, by the way. This shoe is retired, this particular one. I have another pair that still has not all that many miles on it. Anyway, this one might be my favorite out of the 3 just to run in. I have raced in this shoe and done pretty well in this shoe, actually. But it's just fun to train in, do long runs, do stuff where I mix in pace. It just feels good. Same with version 2. Version 2 got a little bit softer. I don't know if they included more midsole or if they just messed with the fuel cell compound. I have read that New Balance does experiment with the fuel cell compound with each iteration of shoes. So you're not going to count on the same midsole from version to version. This one is definitely the most performance-based. They've firmed it up a little bit. It's still soft, still bouncy, still fun to run in, but definitely it's got a little bit more of that firm response. I don't have much to say about the outsole. The outsole is fine. There's coverage where it needs to be, even some outsole on the Energy Arc plate. But yeah, definitely more performance-based, not something I would train in like I would with the version 2 or the version 1. And yeah, it's a fun shoe to run in. Now, the upper is an issue. I have no problem with like sock-like, booty-like uppers, knit uppers usually, but I've mentioned this before, the stitching on the top where the front of the lacing system meets the upper, where it comes in, where the stitching interacts with the inside of the shoe, tore up my foot today. I wouldn't say tore up, I would say rubbed it to blister. And that's happened before, and usually I run with Band-Aids over that spot when I run in this shoe, and I did today, but I must have placed the Band-Aid, you know, a few millimeters off from where it normally would. So I definitely got that blistering again. I won't show a long picture of it, I'll just show a quick picture right here. And I know it's not just this particular pair, because before, I did a demo run with another colorway with Believe in the Run. I didn't do the demo run, I was a participant, there were hundreds of people there. But I was running in a demo pair of these, and that demo pair also did that to me, as well as the pair I ended up getting at the expo. I don't regret buying the shoes, and sometimes a shoe's fun enough to run in that you deal with little things like that that pop up occasionally, but it is something to think about in buyer beware. And speaking of Believe in the Run, I'll say something that Robbie has said before with shoe issues. He says, if it's happened to me, it's happened to someone else. And I think I have seen on Running Shoe Geeks that someone else had the same problem. So beware of that. I do think the version 4 is going to have a much different upper. I've only seen pictures of it. I don't know when it's coming out. They usually like to have that in conjunction with the New York Marathon, or at least one colorway of it. So I don't know. But as far as the fuel cell foam, it's a fun foam. When it's not paired with this plate, I wouldn't call it a super foam. Now, you can use it in a Supermax trainer, like the SC Supercomp trainer. That also has that Energy Arc plate in there. This one's toward the end of life. I'm about to donate these. And then you get that fun bounce effect, but also 47 millimeters off the ground. The version 2 is a little bit lower, but I think fuel cell is best used in the Rebel V3, also in the V2, the version right before this. But it's a lightweight trainer. If you like the Kinvara, it's kind of in that category. I brought these to the beach last week as well, along with the Adios 8 and the Brooks Hyperion Max. And this is like a lightweight shoe that you can go easy in, and if you have to pick up the pace, that's great. Good outsole coverage. But I think this is the best use of fuel cell foam. I've also read that this version is a lot softer than some of the more performance-based ones, and a little bit more susceptible to changes in, with the temperature. Like, it's softer in the warm weather, and it's harder in the cool weather, like this shoe in particular. But, you know, this shoe is just fun to have around, fun to have in the arsenal. So that's my shoe talk. I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot more racing in this shoe. I'll be doing some workouts in it, making sure I place the Band-Aids correctly. But with all of the super shoes that I do have, I don't see myself reaching for this one when I have a goal race in mind. That's my thoughts on the New Balance SC Elite V3. Fun shoe, just not the best in any one category. So again, happy Independence Day if you're celebrating. Happy 4th of July. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you in the next one. But don't forget your LSD, which means like, subscribe, or share, and ding the bell for notifications. Thank you very much, guys.